African economic growth slowed to lower poverty rate. Today, we report on investors, innovators, and craftspeople, both amateur and professional, who gather to share, learn, build a network. But first, we bring you details about a new survey that shows growing African economies don't always help people living in those countries. Survey: Economics grow, but poverty remains. Africa has some of the fastest growing economics in the world, but a public opinion study suggests this growth is doing little to reduce poverty. The Afrobarometer survey shows the majority of Africans still lack basic needs like clean water, food, cooking fuel, and medicine. Afrobarometer says it is an independent, non-partisan research project that measures the social, political, and economic atmosphere in Africa. Jim Bartels tells us more about the findings. Afrobarometer says poverty levels have improved very little over the past 10 years, but the economies grew by average of 5% during the same period. The latest survey took place in 34 African countries between October 2011 and June 2013. More than 5,000 people answered the survey questions. 3 out of 4 of them reported that they had gone without cash income at least once in past year. Almost half of poor people who answered the question that they had gone without food or clean water once or several times in the past year. 1 out of every 2 said they struggled to get medical care. Researchers presented the survey's findings in Johannesburg last week. The problems are deepest in East and West Africa, but they said even countries with strong economies are affected. Robert Mathews is a professor at the University of Cape Town in South Africa. He says the findings should be a wake-up call to governments that poverty levels have actually increased in South Africa and Botswana. Based on that, one might say, with the levels of growth that have been reported across the continent, with all other kind of investments that donors have made to try and bring down poverty, that there has not been much to speak in the areas of success. The survey shows people in Togo, Brunei, Guinea, Niger, and Senegal experience the highest levels of poverty. People in Mauritius and Algeria reported the lowest levels. Most of the Africans in the survey criticized the government economic policies. 69% says they were dissatisfied with job creation. 76% said they were not happy with efforts to reduce income gaps between the rich and the poor. Afrobarometer says the survey suggests that either growth rates are not matching what is being reported or economic growth is not helping those at lower levels of the economy. The researchers say the only way to reduce poverty levels is to increase investments in basic infrastructure like water pipes, electricity, education, and health services. Maker Faire. If you like to make things, especially things that involve science, then you might like to attend Maker Faire. Maker Faire are held every year in different cities around the world. The recent one in New York City had hectares of colorful demonstration tables, science-based games, performance stages, and play island. 11-year-old Genevieve Beatty, her 30-year-old sister Camille, and their father Robert stood proudly next to a robot. It was a model of Mars lander, about 1.5 meters high. Genevieve says they built in themselves. Most of the ones that we made roll, like they have wheels, and some crawl and a few fly. It's just fun to work with my dad and my sister. I do all the inside, like the electronics and like soldering. Robert Beatty says Genevieve's sister Camille had a natural interest in mechanical things. She would take apart household machines to understand how they worked. Robert, Camille, and Genevieve began building items with transistors and LED lights. Before long, the two girls asked to build a robot. And that was a pretty scary, but I thought, okay, if we really do a lot of research, we will be able to figure out how to do it. So we just started learning on YouTube and various websites and trying to construct a little robot. In 2 years, the family had made nearly 35 robots, including several that science museums asked them to build. But Robert says the main point is fun, family, and education. I often don't know the subject of what we are trying to learn, but we learn it together, or I teach it to them, and then they do all the work. And that way they stay super engaged. As soon as I take over and try to get it myself, that's boring, and they go off and do something else. So the key is to get them to do the work themselves. Three-dimensional printings was one of the most popular areas of this year's Maker Faire in New York. At the booth, a young designer named Todd Blatt sold brightly colored jewelry that he made with software and nylon powder. I focused on designs that couldn't be made with traditional manufacturing methods, so I have things that are linked together with no seams and metal pieces that were 3D printed in shapes that you don't make molds out of. So it is really exciting to make these things that couldn't exist otherwise. He uses software to draw the object he wants. Then he sends the design to a 3D printer. It melts the nylon powder with a laser and builds the physical object one thin layer at a time. You can make products, or you can make earrings, jewelry, and movie prop replicas, and clothing, accessories, anything you want. Not everyone at the Maker Faire is high-tech. A group based on Brooklyn, New York called the Fixers Collective had a table. Vincent Lay showed people how to repair a toaster and a rewire lamp. And we feel very comfortable being here because we also believe the fixing and repair is a strong part of the making process, because as you create and as you shape and as you whittle and scrape, you're gonna run into roadblocks. And so that when your fixing skills need to come into play. And that's as it is for today.